Hi, this is Pia Tucker. I'm video recording Mr. and Mrs. Hare. These are my grandparents for the project. They were the blockbusters in their neighborhood. They were the first black family to move on Homestead Street. Mr. and Mrs. Hare, can you tell me, when did you first purchase your home?
September the 5th, 1958.
Okay.
And we moved here. That's when we moved here, September 1958.
Okay. So that was well into the civil rights movement. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience, like what you experienced with your neighbors and?
During that time, our neighbors was not really used to having black families in the neighborhood. And at night, sometime we would get ropes tied on the door. After we were been here for about, I say 2 months, things got a little bit better. But we went through a lot of little changes in the beginning.
Okay. What about you? I heard a lot of stories about a lot of the athletes from the Baltimore Colts living in the neighborhood.
Yeah. One of them, I don't know which one that got married across the street over there.
They lived in 1617 and 1619.
Okay.
That's where the Baltimore Colts used to live. When we moved in the block,
That's right across the street,
right
right?
across the street from us, they had a big wedding. And I don't know the coach names because at that time we wasn't into football.
Okay.
So therefore we just observed the big wedding they had. And a lot of the coats lived in this neighborhood. And
And the farmer had across the street was the doctor's office.
Okay. So that was a doctor's office across the street, the apartment building. Okay. What about like where you guys work? You experienced a lot of racism, Jim Crow.
Oh, yeah. I worked at the Spare Point. It was like that. There were different showers and different bathrooms and different locker rooms where you change clothes there.
How did your superiors treat you? Your foremen, your bosses, supervisors?
Well, I don't want to like to talk about that because they usually cuss at them. But never they called out of a name or nothing like that.
So they never never got the N word.
No.
Okay. Grandma, you used to work.
I worked at John Hopkins. I started off working at John Hopkins, the housekeeper. And at that time, all the bathrooms was Jim Crow. It had white on the bathroom and colors on the bathroom. The cafeteria was Jim Crow. You had white places to eat and colored places to eat. And as far as our supervisor, you never hear them call us to your face, but you could hear them talking about us behind our backs.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Using the N word?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They they use the N-word all the time, Those niggas make me sick. So, but we ignored because we know we needed a job. But then I went back to Hopkins to work in 1968 in Nurses Field, and it was altogether different then. Things had changed. The bathrooms had became as one. The cafeteria had became as one. And I started off working in the general recovery room.
So that was
in 1968.
So that was 10 years after you moved on the block. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about when other black families moved on the block in the neighborhood and how that?
When other black families moved in the neighborhood, things started getting better.
Okay.
And then I had white neighbors, and the children, they was very friendly. They loved to eat my cooking. They would come over and they smell my rolls. And I got with my next door neighbor, he was a milkman. And they was very, mostly lived in this neighborhood at that time. Was the Coats and the milkman and the bread man.
Okay.
They was kind of a middle class.
So this is kind of like a predominant neighborhood at the time.
But eventually they all left
Mm-hmm.
They moved out.
Yeah.
The lock one was the last one there.
Okay, and you guys actually purchased another home from one of your neighbors.
Yes, from one of our neighbors.
I can't think of that. He moved.
He worked out in Bethlehem Steel with my husband, and he owned about 7 or 8 houses around this neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So when I kept my yard clean and my backyard clean, I would always clean his because he had rental property. It was rental property. So when he got ready to move, he retired, him and his wife. He got ready to move, and he decided to sell us the house next door. And I told him, no, I can't buy that house. He said, give me $1. He said, and when your husband come home, I'll come back and we'll talk about it. And he sold me that house next door for $10,000.
Oh, wow. So he gave you your first opportunity to be a business owner.
That's right.
Own your own business. Okay. All right. Well, anything else that you think I left out that you might want to add about, I guess,
We
the
had
history?
we had one neighbor in the block. His name was Mr. Lockbaum. And this was during the time that
He was burning down
They
Gate
was-
Street.
they was burning down Gay Street during the riot.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Lockbaum, he sold us his house. But he got ready to move because during the raid,
The riot.
the riot, everybody that lived in the neighborhoods was supposed to hang out something black on there. Like, you know, to
Oh,
let
they had
people
count on the car.
call to let them know that they was black people living in this block.
Oh, okay.
So Mr. Lockbaum, he put a black antenna on his car and on his house
So that he wouldn't get it.
so they wouldn't bother him. And we became very close friends, and he was crazy about my daughter, Susu, the one called Susu. And so when they got ready to move, he sold me that house. And
Okay.
I sold that house to my mother.
Oh, okay.
And that's the one Mama sold to Lester.
Oh, okay. So that's a little bit of history. So it was three houses on this block.
Yes, and Mr. Lockmama was crazy about my daughter, the one they call Susu. And right now, Susu,
My mother.
your mother, yeah.
Okay. Well, I do thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Hare, for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that my teacher gives me an A. Thanks.